Today we see Jesus teaching not from a boat on the lake or in a temple. He's not on a mountaintop and he's not walking along a dusty Galilean road. He's moving among the hotsy-totsies, the who's who, if you will. He's in the home of a leader of the Pharisees. No doubt, the Pharisees invited his usual crowd to the home. Who are the usual crowd? Important neighbors, perhaps. Merchants. Family members, because you want to come see who's at my house tonight. Religious leaders. All the people he wants to have good relations with, or he has good relations with, people who can perhaps help him raise his cachet in the community just a bit. Jesus paints a scene for us, and we can almost see it. A long table, and at the end, a head table. People are crowding to get to the head table. Jesus' end, I suspect, was rather empty. Why? Everyone wants to sit at the head table. Everyone wants to sit with the who's who. One writer that I read this week called it borrowed honor. When we sit by somebody who's important, we must also be important. We do that too sometimes, don't we? I do it. We see it on Facebook, don't we? You go to a concert and you meet somebody famous afterwards and you put your picture with them on Facebook. It's not bad, it's just what we do. In some ways, it's borrowed honor. If we can sit next to somebody important, that also in some ways raises our stature and our standing in society. Who sits next to the Queen or the President? Our son is getting married in just about 6 weeks. Can't believe it's coming that quickly. Almost everything is done except the seating chart. If you've done the seating chart for a wedding, who can sit by who? Worse yet, who cannot sit by whom? Who doesn't get along with whom? And we know that the head table is for the bride, the groom, and their wedding party. Then we know that going out are the immediate families, the parents, the siblings. Then beyond that are, the grandparents, maybe the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. Beyond that are the friends, and beyond that are the college roommates, and beyond that's the dog walker and the garbage guy, and the guy from the grocery store who bags the groceries, right? It kind of goes in importance, all from front to back. How we sit in the wedding says something, and Jesus uses that story. It's a time-old story, isn't it? It's not new to them or to us. Where we sit says something about who we are, at least in this context. Jesus' words are extremely countercultural. What Jesus says is, when you go to a banquet, we'll start there. When you go to a banquet, don't take the seat of honor. Don't presume you're that special. Take one of the lower seats, because it'd be really embarrassing if somebody comes up and taps you on the shoulder and says, that's not your seat. Instead, take one of the lower seats. And then they'll come up to you and say, no, come up here. You join us. There's your honor, not presumed and take it as your own. A friend of mine who was, and I need to give you a bit of history here. My friend Guy is a lovely, lovely, lovely pastor. Not the guy you know, a different guy. I've just realized there was 2 guys in my life. Okay? He's now this guy is a retired pastor in the United Methodist tradition. And in the United Methodist tradition, we had bishops. And so, of course, if you ever come from a tradition with bishops, you know that bishops wear purple. Other clergy do not. That's how you know a bishop is a bishop. Well, Guy showed up one time at the National Cathedral in a purple clergy collar. The problem is, Guy's not a bishop. And the docents at the cathedral came up and said, "Oh, your grace, join us. This way, sir." And they sat him up front in the front row with all the other bishops. I said, "What did you do?" He said, "I had a great view. That's what I did. I enjoyed the service." Only you, right? It's that taking a place of honor that may or may not be yours. Now, my friend Guy wasn't an arrogant man by any means, but it was hysterical the way he told the story. I heard a funny story this week in relation to the sermon. If I said to you of a certain age, who would you, if I use the term the greatest, who do you think of? Your answer? Muhammad Ali. The greatest. Muhammad Ali was on an airplane one time, and the airline attendant said to him, "Sir, you need to buckle your seatbelt, please, before we take off." And Muhammad Ali answered, "Superman don't need no seatbelt." She said, "Yes, you're right, but Superman didn't need no plane to fly either. Buckle up." It may come as no surprise to you that a man who referred to himself as the greatest was not known for his humility. Jesus tells us today that humility is a tenet of our discipleship. We cannot be disciples properly if our arrogance is what leads us. Paul says this several times: I am the least of the apostles. I'm the last of the disciples. I'm the one who comes from Abraham. I have all the right pedigrees. I was faith after faith. I'm the one who I should have right to boast, but I don't. I'm the least of the apostles. I am not the best. Paul says if anyone has reason to boast, it was he. Yet his boasting came through Christ. We can have arrogance about our lot in life, can't we? What we've earned, what we've done, our career, our home. I love my home. Our cars, our bank accounts, our clothes. Arrogance about our faith. We're the chosen ones. We're the true church. We aren't hateful. We just think you should believe just like us, because you'd be better if you did. Big Joel Osteen smile. Arrogance about our nation. No place like America. Greatest country on the earth. Well, let me be honest at the point of offending somebody, and I apologize if, well, I don't apologize. If you're offended, you probably need to be. When I took the choir to Germany a few years ago, at the end of the trip, I said straight out, we've been here 10 days. I dare any of you to tell me America is the greatest country on earth. I'm not saying it's not great, but here's the issue, guys. Great is not pie. It's not like there's eight slices, and when it's gone, it's done. Like, great doesn't, there's no finite amount to greatness. I think once you've experienced other cultures, you can realize that America can have amazing, great things. We can also have places that we can grow. And we don't grow until we realize we can grow. As long as we're stuck in national arrogance, we're never going to improve. Germany can have great things. France, Italy, great things. Doesn't mean there aren't also reasons to grow. My point is this: when you experience another culture, you begin to realize that something can be great without threatening our greatness too. Saying that another country has wonderful things doesn't mean ours doesn't. It just means if I can get my arrogance out of the way enough, maybe I'll learn something that makes me even greater and even more reflective of the values of goodness. America's great about some things, but in other things we need to grow. And the reality is this: growth, whether it's as a nation or in our faith or individually as people, it necessitates improvement. You can't grow if you don't think you need to improve. You won't grow if you think you're already perfect. Anyone who thinks they have no room for criticism probably doesn't have a lot of room left for growth. Let's just be honest. Any teacher will tell you that. You can't improve if you think you're the greatest. So what are the dangers in our arrogance? Is it wrong to be proud of who we are? Absolutely not. There's nothing wrong of being proud of your accomplishments. There's nothing wrong of being proud of your job or your home or your life or your family or your children. None of that's bad. Be proud. Just don't let that arrogance lead us to think we're better than others. That's the key. Personally, that can lead to degrading others, can't it? They're just stupid. Don't listen to them. Politically, it happens on both sides of the aisles when we call each other names like deplorables and snowflakes. Instead of talking to each other, we shout at each other. And nobody gets anything done that way. Nationally, it leads to nationalism. Our nation, our people, our race, we're superior to others. Let us show you how it's done. It leads to wars and it leads to oppression. Our faith can be arrogant too. This is the one true church. I often joke about my coming to the United Church of Christ and coming to the one true church because that's so far from our theology, it's funny. All other churches are apostate. They must be eradicated because they don't believe as we do. Really? Must be nice to be so self-assured. A friend of mine said her mother used to say to her when she was a teenager, her mother would say to her, "Must be nice to be so blankety blank perfect." Really? Christians sometimes have that same arrogance, don't we? Must be so nice to be so perfect all the time. It leads to division and to oppression. Things like residential schools for indigenous kids, where First Nations children not far from here were taken from their families. Their hair was cut, their clothes were taken away, they were forced to live with white families, European families, and forced to speak English. Because we thought we taught them better. And they'd be better people if they were like us. That's religious arrogance, isn't it? It's cultural arrogance. Forced oppression of Africans who came here in chains to become our property. People of color today, women, and the LGBTQ community. Anyone who's not like me is less than me. Their rights, their views, their lives are not nearly as valuable as ours. And if they just understand that, they'd be happier. So we're doing them a favor. Praise you, Jesus. That's the key. Arrogance in me means there's something about me that is superior to others, more worthy than others, and that they can never lead us to live unless they believe and look and act and feel just like we do. Here's the thing, though. Jesus says today that will never be faithful discipleship. That can never lead us to live and to love like Jesus. So here's the hint. Every single time that somebody tried to lift Jesus up, every single time that somebody tried to tell Jesus how amazing he was, he didn't say, I know, thank you, I try. It's when you're the Messiah, it's just easy. They'll all love you. Every time somebody lifted Jesus up, he pointed them to God, didn't he? Every time somebody directed adoration at him, he took that and went, it belongs there. And so it is with proper discipleship today. It's not bad to have a wonderful church. It's not bad to have beautiful things. It's not bad to have an amazing faith. But let that lead us to lead others to the face of God. Amen.